Joining me, as usual, is Ashley Archaic and Edward Urs. Say hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
There's one in every group. Usually I'm that one,
I
so
was so
I can't...
tempted, but I was like, no, don't do it.
Usually I'm that one, so I won't hold it against you. So, yeah, it's been quite the busy week.
A little bit, yeah.
It's been a little crazy. But before we dive in, there's we lost somebody this week, and that is the actor who plays Chewbacca passed away this week. And what's worse is I can't even remember his name. That sucks. Yes, the face palming is real.
It's like you saw that it happened. You don't remember the name. You just know Chewbacca died.
Yeah, I know Chewbacca died.
His name was Chewbacca to everybody. That's how we'll remember him.
It's literally on our account. Peter Mayhew.
I have like this memory of him being at the Academy Awards. And he was, I think it was the Academy Awards. It must have been. And he was walking through the aisle, maybe in full Chewbacca costume. So it was like this 7-foot dude like walking around.
Nice.
Nice. Okay, let's move on.
But yeah, so let's just hop right in because we got a fair bit to talk about this week. Starting with gaming news, and of course, you can't talk gaming news this week without talking about the Borderlands 3 gameplay reveal. And I gotta admit, it looks pretty damn good.
Yeah.
It looks really, really good. It looks like they even said it themselves. It's an evolution, not a revolution, and they did it right. And honestly, the best way to revolutionize is to evolve. And Gearbox is credited with creating the genre we now call the looter shooter, which Randy Pitchford calls the shooter looter. Back when they made the first game, the first Borderlands game.
Well, that's because you shoot and kill, and then you get the loot.
Yeah.
Although looter shooter kind of rolls off the tongue better, but the order in which, well, that's like what's that term? Okay, lock and load. Isn't it really load and lock? But
Yeah.
lock and load rolls off the tongue better. Same deal. Now, you got some information about Randy Pitchford. Did he make some comments about microtransactions in Borderlands 3, and
He's
like,
it's funny, honestly, because he says there's no microtransactions, but people are nitpicking and saying, well, there are going to be microtransactions because there's going to be you're going to be able to buy skins and you're going to be able to buy some cosmetics and stuff like that.
Randy
and he's like, no, there are no
Those-
microtransactions, and it's like
cosmetics
that's
are
kind of
micro.
that's kind of what a microtransaction is, Randy.
Yeah.
But he did say there.
He's incredibly disingenuous, not...
Well, I
playing.
think what he means, what he really meant when he said microtransactions, is there's not going to be any pay-to-win mechanics or anything in the game. Those are usually what most people associate with microtransactions instead of the cosmetic stuff. But at the same time, yes, cosmetics are a microtransaction.
Somebody in his position should know better than to be disingenuous like that.
But he says no loot boxes, and there will never be loot boxes, and no microtransactions. Let's assume that when he said that, he meant no pay-to-win microtransactions.
Yeah, I feel like that's what he meant too. Because, I mean, technically, the definition, yes, they do exist. But as long as they're not pay to win, I'm totally fine with that. Like,
Okay,
if you want to spend all your money.
Do you guys remember in Borderlands 2...
Borderlands 2 did have... You could buy skins, and...
Do you remember...
But it wasn't so
golden
pervasive.
Keys? Golden keys in Borderlands 2?
Yes, but they gave those away, and they never charged for them.
Mm-hmm.
I never really understood how you got those.
Basically, when Borderlands 2 first came out, they'd tweet out shift keys and stuff like that, and that was how you would get golden keys. You'd also get golden keys if you there were rewards basically if you played a game at one of the previous games on the system you play it on. So like for example, I got rewarded in Borderlands 2 for playing Borderlands 1 on my Xbox account, and that gives you 25 golden keys as like an incentive to like, hey, it's a loyalty reward is what they called it. Then of course they would tweet out shift codes for more golden keys as well. Then they did the same thing when they launched the pre-sequel. Like if you have data on your account from previous Borderlands, you'd get a loyalty reward, which was again 25 golden keys. And then of course they were tweeting out more shift codes for that game as well. And they're already talking about shift integration with Borderlands 3. There's the Echo overlay for people who stream as well, which will also allow viewers to earn gold keys and also earn loot through watching your favorite streamer play the game as well.
Overwatch League has some deal with Twitch where you get Overwatch League tokens if you like watch streams of the Overwatch League itself.
So fairly similar. Twitch has had this integration similar to this for a while. So is Mixer, which is Microsoft's streaming service that, let's be honest, not very many people use it, but it's not as pervasive as Twitch.
What you gotta do is just open up a tab and mute the tab and just get credit for
pretty much because like during E3 especially like Microsoft is known for giving away free stuff if you watch the Microsoft press conference on Mixer. Like if you watch it on Mixer, you'll get like a message on Xbox saying if your Xbox account and your Mixer account is linked. They're usually one and the same, and they'll give you free stuff for that. But also, Bethesda is giving away free stuff using Twitch. If you watched, like, I remember one E3 when they one E3 they said watch our Twitch stream, watch one of our streams, you'll get free stuff. The free stuff was a card pack for Elder Scrolls Legends, which I never played, but
wow, good job.
but free stuff. But yeah, so this Twitch integration, get free stuff for watching streams, has been around for a while, and Borderlands seems to be another game that's taking full advantage of it. Okay,
so Borderlands 3, what's really new? What have you seen that's new?
Mobility. Mobility is a big thing that they showed off in the during the gameplay reveal. You can now mantle, you can now slide, which are both two things. Again, added mobility. You can slide into cover, which is nice. They've really tightened up the gunplay. I've heard a couple streamers that were playing it at the reveal saying the gunplay is far better. It's almost like Call of Duty quality gunplay, which
oh wow.
Call of Duty, while the name has earned dire recently from fans and media alike for its predatory microtransactions. Let's all be honest. Call of Duty's gunplay is basically where you want to get to if you're making a shooter, because everything handles well, everything just works, and
yeah, it's pretty reliable. More
in a Call of Duty game, when you aim down sights and you pull the trigger, that first bullet is good. Now, depending.
That first bullet. Hold on a sec. That first bullet is what?
The first bullet. Okay, when you aim down sights in a Call of Duty game, that first bullet you shoot, it's supposed to be like a laser going wherever it's going to be. Everything after that, it's going to be variation depending on the gun specs, the spread, and how much
Hmm.
recoil it has and stuff like that. But there's something about if you can aim down sights and that first bullet actually lands where you're supposed to, where you're pointing at,
Hmm.
that feels good. And something I can say, I think going from Borderlands 1 to Borderlands 2, I thought that the gun accuracy stat was more accurate, or it actually reflected the gun's accuracy better in Borderlands 1 than in Borderlands 2. And or maybe that's just me, because in Borderlands 2 I ended up just using those like what the hell was that?
The SMGs.
I want to say Torbjorn, but that isn't Torg. The
Torg.
Torg brand, just
Huh.
like the exploding rock.
Explosive!
Yeah, I mean those. I think when you get up into the higher levels, like past level 55, 60 and stuff, there stops being Torg weapons that you can get, really. But below that, those usually are like the most powerful weapons round for round. They're good for ammo conservation in Borderlands 2. But the thing is, they're not very accurate.
Interesting thing about Torg, and I'm sure a lot of people who played Borderlands 2 already know
Mr.
this.
Satan.
Yeah, Torg's voice actor is Mr. Satan, aka Hercule, in the American version of the Dragon Ball franchise.
That he is. He's
Fun facts.
He's a great voice actor, though, and he does really good work, obviously, because we all, like, everybody enjoyed how over the top he was in Campaign of Carnage, which was one of the expansion packs for Borderlands 2. Anyway, going back to what's new in Borderlands 3, you all remember the exploding barrels that gave, like, elemental effects when you shot them and stuff like that? Well, now you can punt them across the map, basically. You can melee them and send them flying and then shoot them.
How fun.
Another thing regarding elemental damage, since we're talking about the elemental barrels, slag damage is no longer in the game. Slag overall is no longer in the game and has been replaced with radiation.
Interesting.
Now, the effect of radiation is it's a damage over time, I believe. But anyway, what happens is it infects the person, and then if you kill the person who's infected with radiation damage, they explode. And and then when they explode, they infect the other people around them. So basically, if you do it right, you can get a chain reaction of people blowing up.
Do you have any idea how long the effect lasts? Is that tied to maybe is there like a base to what it is, and then maybe if your
it might depend on
like,
it probably depends on the weapon, because as like in Borderlands 2, elemental effect was a stat that you could raise and stuff like that, remember?
Well, okay. Yeah, but also I'm also thinking like there could be like class mods that would affect it too, that would increase like the duration that someone would be irradiated.
Probably, and if I had to bet, it would probably be the Siren. Yeah, the Siren class.
All elemental.
Because I mean that just seems to be a Siren thing, as we can tell in Borderlands 1 and 2.
A lot of the classes in Borderlands, they're usually like the soldier is tied to like rifles, machine guns. There's a sniper usually that specializes in, yeah, like I said, snipers and handguns. But the Siren, there's been 2 Sirens before, and they were all about machine guns, submachine guns kind of, but really elemental was what was unique about
elemental
them.
damage, usually linked to their abilities. But continuing on with environmental stuff, we saw 2 instances of an environment during the gameplay of the people using the environment against enemies. Like in the early part the person controlling Imara, I think is her name. She shot a oil pipe, and oil shot out, and then they lit the oil on fire using a fire barrel. So that is certainly something new to the franchise, is environmental hazards and stuff like that.
We could be looking at, if there's water, maybe it can be electrified.
Probably. We also saw a someone shooting a pipe and radioactive waste coming out and dealing damage to the enemies that way as well. So there's multiple possibilities for both combinations and just general stuff other than just the barrels that have been a mainstay in the franchise since the first game. Also, another thing that they're changing from the past two games is action abilities, where in the first two games each character only had one action ability, and each of the skill trees would modify that ability in one way or another, or just modify the character in one way or another. Each skill tree in this game has its own action ability. So each character has 3 different action abilities to choose from in this game.
But you can only have one at a time in your build?
Except for Zane, the operative, which is the assassin sniper character in this game. And he has the ability of taking 2 action abilities. However, it does cost him the use of grenades.
Huh.
And I never really liked grenades in Borderlands games. That's just the way I played. But I never really liked rocket launchers and grenades. I did like the Torg weapons in Borderlands 2 for a bit, but...
Yeah. So, Zane the Operative is the only one that is able to use 2 action abilities. And also, on each skill tree, as you progress down it, you'll unlock what are essentially perks. They call them modifiers, and there's about, 5 modifiers per skill tree. And however, you can only equip 2 at a time per action ability. Action skill, whatever they're calling it. Yeah, the characters, we all know the characters by now. They were revealed in the reveal trailer, but we have Amara the Siren, Flack the Beastmaster, Mose the Gunner, and Zane the Operative. And I believe it seems as though at the gameplay reveal, players, the streamers and YouTubers and stuff that were flown out to try the game, they only had access to Amara and Zane to try during this preview event. Randy Pitchford did say, however, that there'll be that Borderlands 3 will be at E3 with more information. They'll be at Gamescom with more information. A whole bunch of other events, PAX as well. So we can look forward to learning more and more until the game's release, which is September 13th.
Nice.
And it's really nice. Also, other things include there's a lot of guns. It seems as though all the common guns don't have this feature, the grays, the whites, and stuff like that. But all the uncommons and up seem to have this feature where they have an alt fire mode where you can switch between it. Like for instance, you one could be just regular shooting. We saw a minigun that acted as a minigun in its normal fire mode, but then you could switch to its alt fire mode, and hey, it's all of a sudden a grenade launcher. Then there's also brand-specific alt fire modes. For example, Atlas has smart bullets, where basically you can hit an enemy with a tracker tag and then basically just just fire and run away if you want to, and the bullets will go behind you and hit the target that you're running away from. Malawan guns, which are most commonly known for
Fire.
well, no, elemental damage overall.
Okay.
Malawan is the elemental manufacturer, basically, and their new thing is their alt fire mode basically switches elements. So, like, for instance, you can pick up a gun that does cryo damage and fire damage, like, and alternate between the two of them. Then there's Torg weapons have gotten a bit of a your favorite. You have gotten a bit of a change as well. There is a regular fire mode and a sticky fire, basically sticky projectile fire mode, which shoots sticky grenades essentially at your target. Which it says here, stickies do more damage if a bunch of them detonate on the same target. Obviously, I mean, if you plaster a bunch of grenades on somebody, of course it's gonna hurt more.
Right.
Vladoff in the Borderlands franchise has always been known for. No, it's not Vladoff. It's Tediore. Tediore are the guns. They're the disposable guns of the Borderlands universe. Basically, in past Borderlands, you get a Tediore gun, you empty the clip, and instead of reloading it, your character chucks it at the enemy like a grenade, and it explodes, and it explodes, and then your character digistructs a new fully loaded gun in their hand.
Yeah.
In this, however, there's multiple different types. You still have the grenade type, but also we've seen a type of bouncing Betty type grenade, basic type of weapon. You empty the clip or just shoot a couple rounds and chuck it to reload, and it basically gets a red bubble around it and starts bouncing around the room. My guess is that if that red bubble touches an enemy, it explodes. They didn't really show that because they showed it in an empty room, interestingly enough. Another version of that is what we saw in the reveal trailer, the gun with legs. So basically you could fire off one round of a gun, and we actually saw this in the gameplay reveal where they'd shoot off one round, toss it down, and and it would sprout legs and start running around shooting enemies. They spammed this a little bit, and they had like 4 or 5 of these little things running around shooting enemies for them.
That's awesome.
So, again, they're still the disposable gun of the Borderlands universe. Already mentioned Atlas. Jacobs is changing. Jacobs has been known as...
Powerful, small magazine weapons, right?
Jacobs has been known as fire as fast as you can pull the trigger.
Which is the one that is based on, like, just low magazine count, but like really powerful? Do you remember which?
That's probably Jacobs too, but it's always it's always been the semi-automatic one. But from what we've seen, I believe this is the one that we saw in the gameplay where it was you can now switch between semi-auto and burst fire mode. Or was that that's Dahl. Dahl now has the mode switch. Because if any of you remember, Dahl has burst mode when you're zoomed in down sight, which can be very annoying with sniper rifles. They're really good sniper rifles, but the burst fire just like takes aiming out the window.
Yeah.
But you fire a burst of 3 and like only 1 hit.
Yeah, it's just like it's annoying to say the least. They're really powerful, really good guns, but that you don't want a dull sniper rifle. At least you didn't, but now you might, because of being able to switch between burst fire and semi-automatic. But Jacobs, however, now has bullet ricochet. Their new motto is deliver devastating critical hits to enemies soft and sensitives, then joy puke as your bullets ricochet towards other targets. Hyperion has changed as well. Not sure who's in charge of Hyperion right now after we killed Handsome Jack. Spoilers for a 7-year-old game in Borderlands 2. Basically, now when you aim down sight with a Hyperion weapon, you get a weapon-mounted shield, which gives various effects. Like, so far we've seen stuff like a bullet sponge, which if bullets hit the shield, it absorbs into your own ammo. That's one of the effects that we've seen so far. Doll. Toggle between alternate fire modes depending on your playstyle, your predicament, and your predilection for bonus damage. Vladorf has rapid fire, ammo hungry guns with underbarrel attachments. So again, that would be like I was talking about earlier, the minigun with the grenade launcher for the alternate fire mode. And it says underbarrel attachments including tasers, rocket tubes, and additional gun barrels. So that's fun. The new weapon manufacturer that's going to be replacing Bandit from Borderlands 2, and Bandit, interestingly enough, replaced Atlas from Borderlands 1 because, it's very interesting how the main villains of the Borderlands franchise always seems to be like the CEOs of these weapon manufacturers, because the first Borderlands
Commandant Steel
she was the CEO of Atlas, and Atlas were actually the strongest weapons in the Borderlands game, the first one. So I'm actually interested to see if they're going to be one of the stronger types in Borderlands 3, since they're making their reemergence after skipping Borderlands 2. But the Children of the Vault is the new weapon manufacturer, as well as the main protagonist of the game, where we're facing up against the Calypso twins, one of which is a siren and her brother. Now, we've seen, and this isn't really much of a spoiler because it was shown off in the reveal trailer. They didn't really talk too much about it in the gameplay reveal, but yes, the Tyreen Calypso is a siren with the ability to steal other sirens' abilities. So that's going to be interesting, as we saw with Tyreen and her brother standing over a tattoo-less Lilith in the reveal trailer.
Now, are sirens' abilities tied to tattoos?
Their tattoo. They get the tattoos when they get their abilities. So yeah, it's not their abilities aren't tied to their tattoos. Their tattoos are tied to their abilities.
Are they born sirens, or do they become sirens?
There's actually not too much we know about sirens. What we do know about it is there can only be 6 in the universe at a time.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking. Just imagine, like, when Angel died in Borderlands 2, like, her siren aura just, like, left her body and then, like, went and just possessed somebody else. What if it'd be like that?
We also know only women can be sirens, too, which raises the question, how does Tyreen's sister get siren abilities? And major speculation is that one of Tyreen's abilities is to transfer siren abilities.
Huh.
Because we've seen her brother with siren tattoos in the reveal trailer and some of the art for the game as well. And basically, there's a lot of speculation that we're going to get a lot of lore dumps on sirens in this edition of the game, and further expand upon what little, very, very little we actually know about the sirens in the Borderlands universe.
That'd be really cool.
But yeah, so the Children of the Vault weapon manufacturer says, enjoy uninterrupted damage dealing courtesy of air quotes infinite ammo magazines, occasionally interrupted by unpredictable overheating. My guess is the air quotes around infinite basically means as long as you have ammo for the gun type you're using, you don't need to reload. But of course, overheating is a thing too, so... I'm sure there's probably it says unpredictable overheating, so I'm not sure if there's going to be like a heat gauge or something that you can watch, but
You gotta look at your gun. Maybe it changes color.
there has to be some type of indicator, visual, audio, or otherwise, to say, hey, I need to lay off the trigger for a moment, you know?
Yeah.
Otherwise, that's just going to be annoying. And if it is actually a random thing, I can just imagine somebody getting really unlucky. Their gun overheats, they shoot one bullet, and it overheats again.
Oh, God.
But I doubt it's that. I'm sure they have programming in place where the guns don't do that. So I believe... There's another thing, like, because the guns in Borderlands are randomly generated, from the specs to sometimes how they look, the modifiers on it, and all this other type of stuff, and they've always been this way since the first. Well, they've gotten better, but I think it's been this way since the beginning. And an interesting thing is they've used a certain amount of sounds for the weapons, where the AI that runs the management of the generation of the weapons in game would combine sounds from a database to make the sound your weapon makes as it fires and reloads and all this other stuff. Like when you run out of ammo, like all these different situations, the sound is generated when the weapon is generated. And they've ran off a database of about, I think, it was like 700 sounds, I think. In Borderlands 3, that's being upped to the thousands of sounds.
Oh, wow.
I think it's tens of thousands. I'm not completely certain. I'd have to rewatch the video to get confirmation on that. But it is a significant increase from Borderlands 1 and 2. So I remember there was a YouTuber I watch was talking about how one of his favorite sounds was when he emptied a clip. Not reloaded after unloading a few rounds, but after he emptied a clip on this one gun, it made an M1 Grand ping sound.
Love it.
And he said it was so satisfying, and he loved it, and he loved it. And so there's so many different variations of sounds and sound effects that will be going into the weapons to make them all unique, of course. We did see a bit of a tribute to Handsome Jack in the form of a Hyperion weapon called the Handsome Jackhammer. It is a rare weapon. I think it was a legendary weapon. It was a legendary Hyperion weapon called the legendary Jackhammer. I mean, Handsome Jackhammer. But that's not going to be the only reference, supposedly, that we'll be seeing to the former Hyperion CEO. The new hub will be called Sanctuary 3, because we don't talk about Sanctuary 2. And that'll have customizable rooms for the player, where you can put your weapons on display and and I believe they said you can change how it looks, like probably wallpaper and various other cosmetic stuff, so that you could show off like some of your best weapons to your friends and strangers. Also in here we have Marcus, we have Tanis, we have the other Vault Hunters like Lilith, who's now the commander of the Crimson Raiders. Because again, spoilers for a 7-year game, Roland dies. So an interesting change from Borderlands 2 to Borderlands 3 is Crazy Earl no longer sells the storage deck upgrades. Instead, that's up to Marcus, who sells them for cash instead of Iridium. So that's going to be a weight off a bunch of people's shoulders, having to collect Iridium for storage deck upgrades. Iridium still is a thing, and Crazy Earl is on Sanctuary 3. But we don't know what he sells right now. We did see that he has his own vending machine now, though, so that's a thing. Ellie now runs Catch a Ride, or Ellie's Garage, because, spoiler for a bit more recent but still older game, Scooter dies in Tales from the Borderlands.
Okay.
We don't know where Dr. Zed is. A lot of people are wondering where Dr. Zed is because Tanis is now in charge of the infirmary.
Dr. Zed didn't he turn into a zombie?
Yeah, but that was in Borderlands 1 DLC, and what was that? Yeah, that was Borderlands 1 DLC, I believe. I thought. Was that Borderlands 2 DLC?
It was okay. Zombie Island of Doc. Thing is, there was a Zed and a Ned. Maybe I'm getting this mixed up. What his name was? I think one of them had like some evil twirling mustache on his face or something. But I thought one of them was dead. Okay, never mind.
His vending machine is still there. The Dr. Zed's vending machine is still there. So we don't know. We don't know right now. A couple people are asking like, "Where's Dr. Zed? Where's Dr. Zed?"
I think Ned was in the zombie expansion in the first game, and Zed was like the normal one. And for some reason, I thought he died, but who did die was TK Baja.
Yeah, he died early on in the first Borderlands.
And he has a granddaughter or a niece or something that was in Borderlands 2. Be nice to see her come up.
I think I know who you're talking about. But speaking of the vending machines, they finally introduced a quality of life feature to the ammo machine where you can just walk right up to it, press a button, and it auto buys all ammo.
Huh.
One of the biggest perks that I really liked in Borderlands 1 is when you played as Roland the soldier, there were so many ways to just have ammo regen that you never had to...
Yeah,
like
nice.
If you had a soldier in your party, you could have like team ammo regen. No one ever had to worry about running out of ammo. You didn't have to buy ammo. You didn't even think about, oh, there's a gun with infinite ammo. It's like it doesn't matter. And
to be honest, you could have two soldiers in Borderlands 1, one having focused down the health regen tree, one having focused down the ammo regen tree, and just basically just go straight, plow through the freaking game, because health regen's going so fast, and ammo regen, you never run out of ammo, you never run out of health.
And then in Borderlands 2, the only hero... I want to call them heroes.
I guess, yeah, I mean, they kind of are. They're the player characters. Yeah. They're the hero characters.
Yeah. The only one that had any kind of ammo regen, I think, was the Gunzerker. When you popped your action ability, you would regenerate ammo. But other than that, I never saw any class mod that gave ammo regen to everybody. So something I didn't like about Borderlands 2. They made numerous improvements, but that was something I missed. Ammo regen.
So, obviously, spaceship, and we all know that you're not staying on Pandora anymore. You start on Pandora, in the game, but you'll quickly be hopping between worlds. And the one world that we did see and was the main focus of the gameplay trial that people were trying was the world of Promethea, which is a really large built-up city world which is the home of the Atlas Corporation, which is currently undergoing a hostile takeover from the Malawan Corporation. And in the Borderlands universe, when one weapon manufacturer is trying to do a hostile takeover of another weapons manufacturer, they do it with military force.
Sounds like fun.
So Malawan is basically going through an all-out siege against Atlas, throwing troops, bots, and various other things at Atlas to whittle them down. And interestingly enough, we're on the side of Atlas this time. In what we've seen, we helped out, and in the demo that YouTubers and Twitchers were playing, they were on the side of Atlas. They actually helped him out and stuff as well. Basically, you're working for Atlas, at least it seems, on this world, because the Calypso twins have sided themselves with Malawan. So, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, after all. Something I missed about Sanctuary 3 is Hammerlock's back, and he will send you out on hunts, and he has a trophy room in Sanctuary 3, and as you complete hunts for him, it'll start filling up with the heads of the animals he sends you to go out hunting for.
I'll tell you something about those corporations, the gun manufacturers in Borderlands. Seems like at one point or another, you could just see any one of them just being rapacious companies trying to gain more power and influence in the world and stuff. Except Torg. I just have to say that Torg is just all about the thrill of blowing shit up. That's what it's all about with him.
I mean, he seemed like a pretty chill, pretty cool dude when we met him in Borderlands 2 in the Campaign of Carnage.
Plot twist, he's like your main enemy.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of the weapons manufacturers just seem to be out for the... I mean, it's basically like they're these major corporations that just want to rule everything, take over everything, you know? You had Atlas in the first game trying to claim the power of the vault. You had Hyperion in the second game, again trying to claim the power of the vault. It just seems...
Now there's vaults on like all these different planets. Now, like you open one and now they're like all over the place. I mean, it was bound after seeing the end of Borderlands 2 that not everything was going to be on Pandora.
Yeah. It was pretty obvious. It's just almost 6 years of silence. A little less than that. When did they do the GDC like teaser and stuff like that? I think that was like 2016. So like 4 years of silence. No word on whether or not there would be Borderlands 3. And then after that, it was another 3 years before they revealed, yes, we are working on it, and hey, it's almost done. So
yeah, you know, Bethesda, they did that with Fallout 4. That's like one of the most recent games I can think of where it's like they announce it like at E3, and then it's like, oh yeah, it's going to be available in 3-4 months.
Yeah.
Instead of something getting dragged out for years and years, like vaporware. That, you know, it's like what was it?
You mean like most games these days?
I was thinking 2015. They announced like Shenmue 3. They announced Final Fantasy 7 being remade, and maybe another thing. I know Final Fantasy isn't out. That's going to be on PS5.
I mean, it took them over a decade to make Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh my god. Don't even get me started.
I mean, to be fair, they did release a lot of smaller games for mobile platforms and stuff like that that only went on to confuse the shit out of everybody who ever played a Kingdom Hearts game. Just bog down the lore to a point where it's completely unrecognizable and just like completely impenetrable. But yeah, so it's just something that I wish more game developers would do. Be perfectly honest, don't announce a game 5 years before it comes out, 5+ years before it comes out, because you're not doing anybody favors. It builds hype to a point where your game will in no way ever live up to the hype that you try that it's built up to.
How about, I want to say we got to go back to like 2005, 6, or 7. I think there was like some E3 trailer for Beyond Good and Evil 2, and there was like some ugly ass pig.
It was just a pig sitting on the side of the road next to a broken down car in the desert, and he just snorts a fly into his snout.
And then nothing came from that.
Nothing came from that for over a decade. When did they finally announce Beyond Good and Evil 2?
I want to say like 2 years ago, 2017. I want to say it was about 2 years ago.
Yeah, so about a decade passed with like nothing. Radio silence. Complete and utter zero zilch.
That project from 2007-ish had nothing really to do with whatever the hell they showed off the last time with that Brit.
To be fair, there was nothing there. It was just, like I said, the camera comes in, he's sitting on the side of the road with a broken down car in the middle of the desert, and he just snorts a fly into his mouth.
But that's supposed to mean we're working on it.
Yeah, but here's the interesting thing: if they didn't release that. They've actually came out and said this. If they didn't release that, there wouldn't be a Beyond Good and Evil 2. Because if they didn't release that, there wouldn't have been a fan reaction so virulent, like, we want this game! And it was that fan reaction and stuff that actually got them into full swing production for Beyond Good and Evil 2. And it was the persistence of the fans saying, "We want this, we want this, we want this, we want this," until Ubisoft finally folded and gave them the rights to go full bore with the game.
Will Epic Games, will they force Valve to make a Half-Life 3? And it's going to be like an exclusive on Steam. Will they force that hand?
I mean,
a 3 or a Half-Life 3,
or Portal 3. It's going to be like, okay, Valve, time to get your hands dirty for once. You can't just sit on your ass all day.
Sit on your ass
and not develop anything anymore. Games. Like the reason they made Steam was. They sold other stuff through it, but it was like mainly a showcase for their games, you know. Like that was like one of the main reasons Valve made Steam. So now they don't even have any of their own games anymore. Like, when was the last time they actually made a game?
It's like a card game. If that's even out, there's supposed to be like some Dota card.
Yeah, the Dota 2 card game, which did release and then died a couple months later because the fans didn't want it, nobody liked it, and it was just like it was microtransaction heavy with the card packs and stuff, and yeah. But did Valve make that, or did they just produce it?
I can't say for sure.
What is the last game that we can say for sure that Valve made?
I don't know.
Half-Life 2?
Portal 2? Wouldn't any of those Portals?
Well, I don't think they developed it though. That's the thing. But well, I guess we can use this as a transition because Epic bought Psyonix and might be pulling Rocket League off Steam. So that's our next story. And of course, they got the same reaction Borderlands 3 did when it announced their exclusivity, and Rocket League got review bombed. Let's all be honest here. Raise your hand if you saw that coming.
Well, now that you mention it, yeah.
No, we don't know if they're going to do that, but well, we didn't know. We know now that yes, they are going to be pulling it off Steam later in the year. However, if you already own the game on Steam, you will still be getting support for the game on Steam. Like patches, bug fixes, hot fixes, all that other type of stuff. Probably no new DLC or anything, though, so no new cars or maps or anything like that, unless they're added via patch instead of being downloadable content. Let's be honest, Rocket League's been out for a while. Yes, it still has a following. Yes, I believe there's even still tournaments going on for it. But it hasn't really experienced much in the way of growth in quite a while. A lot of people are thinking that Epic is trying to absorb a couple more esport-worthy games because they're doing pretty decently with Fortnite, even though they've kind of flubbed it recently, and a lot of pros are saying, well, we don't like the changes, so we're going to be switching games, probably.
We mentioned earlier about Valve games. What's the most recent Valve game? Would Counter-Strike Global Offensive? Do you think that's not
again?
Developed
Did they develop it or did they just publish it? I am fairly certain they just published it.
Okay, I'll keep talking. I'll look this up.
Keep talking. I'll get to the bottom of this.
Man, the fastest way I can think of would be go to launch Steam, pull up Half-Life 2, and click.
Developed by Hidden Path Entertainment and Valve Corporation, published by Valve Corporation. So it was developed by Valve and whatever Hidden Path Entertainment is, Counter-Strike GO, released in 2012. So
they probably got co-development credits because they own the IP and stuff like that, but. Well, I don't know. How much of a hand did they actually have in it? But not important. But yeah, but that's at least like 5 years old, right? Like 4 or 5 years old.
2012.
Oh, it's even older than I thought it was. So yeah, that's 7 years.
Which it's now free to play on Steam, just like Team Fortress 2.
And it now also has a battle royale mode, I think, which is the reason why it went free to play. Yeah, they launched the free to play mode, I think, with like a battle royale mode. But yeah, so one of the reasons people are thinking they bought Psyonix and Rocket League is because Rocket League is one of those esport. It's very much an esport game and stuff like that. So a lot of people are thinking like they're probably going to do like cross promotions between Fortnite and Rocket League. Try and get some people playing Fortnite to try Rocket League, and some people playing Rocket League to try Fortnite. Grow those numbers, and I can see that working. And also, like, people are speculating, hey, they're buying a esport where it's something that already has esports attached to it, Rocket League. Maybe they already have Fortnite. Maybe they're trying to build a catalog of esport games and try to push more into that domain. Edward drinking out of a disappearing water bottle.
I'm just
Magic.
I'm just trying to think. Okay, I get how Rocket League. It's soccer with cars pushing the balls into goals. That's that's what Rocket League is. So in itself, it is a sport. But as far as it being an esport, it's like
It is an established esport already.
is there an actual Rocket League?
I believe so. I'm not sure how active it's been in the recent years, but at one point I do know that there was. Yeah, needless to say, again, Epic earning the ire of Steam Boys. That's what I'm going to start calling them now.
Steam Boys.
However, and we did forget to mention this last week because I didn't even hear about this until after the podcast last week, but Tim Sweeney, the CEO of Epic Games, did issue an ultimatum to Steam saying that if they lower their cut to 12%, matching the share Epic gets off the Epic Store, giving publishers, developers the 88% that Epic gives, they said that not only would they stop the exclusive dealings, they would even there's even a possibility that they would bring their own franchises over to Steam. So, including possibly Fortnite. So, it's an interesting thing to think about. I doubt Valve is going to do it, at least right away. Maybe if Epic keeps the pressure high on them, they might buckle and say, "Okay, fine, we'll do it." But we'll see. And there's a lot of people like, "What is he genuine with this?" as well. A lot of people are questioning if he's genuine about this offer as well. And again, it's something we may never see anyway.
This sounds like just some kind of political bluff. Like they're making an offer that Steam would never do or something. Yeah. And if they did it, I think Epic would want to hold their cards, hold on to what they have. I figure it.
Well, actually, if they did release Fortnite on Steam, it would be a boon for them because it would increase their player base yet even more than it already has. Because there are people who refuse to install the Epic launcher because Epic's owned by Tencent, and they don't want to be spied on by those darn Chinese. And because I'll be perfectly honest, this is the main reason a lot of people are against it, and it's just like it's old man Hanyu doesn't buy into that bullshit.
Time for tech news.
One more thing, and it's Valve related. Valve recently announced their brand new VR headset, which is not a collaboration with HTC as the last two Vives, the Vive and the Vive Pro, have been, and is known as the Valve Index. Now, a full VR kit, which includes two base stations, the Index controllers, formerly known as the knuckle controllers, and the new headset will run you $999.
Oh, nothing.
However, this seems to be the main thing everybody is focusing on is, oh, it's a $1,000 VR headset. No, it's not. It's a $500 VR headset. Because you can buy the VR headset alone by itself for $500 or $499.